So, Karen, question for you is, so how would you say, based on what we've talked about so far, what does financial small unit warfare look like in today's world?
Well, to me, I mean, the most strategically, the most nimble product is we have a proprietary product at CMG Loans that is called the all-in-one loan.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows you to have the nimbleness of equity, being able to access your equity as easily as you could with any checking account. And also, again, the freedom to be able to handle it as you want. So you aren't having to go, once you have that in place, now you can draw on it for the opportunities that are there and pay it back, pay as little interest as you want or as much as interest as you want, depending on how you choose to handle that product and the setup of it. And again, looking at your entire life. And so when you talk about something that is really unique, and people are always like, well, why haven't I heard of it? Well, because if you ever looked at how much money banks make off of a traditionally amortizing 30-year mortgage, they don't want you to get into this.
No,
like, that's the worst thing in the world. It's a principal paid first mortgage. But thank God it does exist. And for the right person who can qualify for it and does cash flow in a way that it makes sense, it is a game changer because it lets them keep control of their equity and use of their money in a way that velocity banking, they can now really, I mean, it just becomes it becomes such a tool in their arsenal to really be able to have an impact and do things they never imagined that they could have ended up being able to finance or whatever before. Because, a borrower has to borrow. An investor very often chooses to borrow because ultimately it makes sense to use that leverage.
Yeah, Will, if you recall from the last show you were in, when Kyle was here, Kyle Reese from Helena, yeah. Has he talked to you at all about the infinite banking concept? Are you familiar with that?
I'm somewhat familiar, yes.
Yeah. So Kyle was down last time and was explaining kind of what that is and how that can help people. And
I was listening to your show.
Okay. Well, that's the whole point of the liquidity and cash flow management, right? It's like understanding how that's in my mind how financial small unit warfare looks in today's world, because we live in these systems, these financial systems that tells us that do these things, right? Mm-hmm. Check these boxes. Don't question it. Don't pay attention. Just if you check the boxes, you'll be fine.
Give us our money. We'll manage it.
Yeah, give us your money.
Maybe we'll give you a return.
Yeah.
In a family of nonconformists, that's a question that has come up several times as my kids are approaching adulthood, or some of them are starting families now. It's okay. It's drilled into us. You need to buy a home, and you need to spend your whole life paying that home off to the bank. A lot of people, it's also drilled in, you got to have a huge student loan for a degree that may or may not benefit you in today's economy. And so my kids are asking all the right questions. They're like, okay, if I'm $100,000 into student debt, what does that actually give me? Show me some math on if that decision makes sense. And same with the home. It's like, yeah, the American dream is to own your own home, but how much does the bank actually make off that home? And is this in my best interest? Because, somehow it seems like the banks always win.
Well, that's where I get so frustrated, with the whole mindset of just give us your money and we'll manage it. And you just sit there and be happy. And someday when you retire, we'll tell you how much you actually have. Yep. To me, that's a little bit of the same world of like, right now, how things are running, rates dropped. Awesome. That's great. But at the same time, like, everybody and their brother is coming out to tell you, of course, you should refinance. And the kicker is what they're going to get you with is cash flow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can save $150 a month. And nobody ever bothers to look at the bottom line that part of that savings is because you've redone your amortization schedule. So you've just taken your debt and extended out over a new 30-year term. So that's part of the savings. And then the other thing is you've taken the cost and thrown it into are you even bothering to look? All you're looking at is, but I'm going to save that money. And, again, agency, look at all your numbers. Mm-hmm. Don't just look at the bottom line. Don't just, cash flow is important. We all live lives of cash and cash flow. And I get it. If you were so strapped for cash that $150 is going to actually like save you, And if you are going to do that savings, well, let's look at what it does to actually pay things off even faster and get you a lower effective percentage rate. Because the bank's percentage rate is if you paid it by the term. If you are paying extra, your effective percentage rate ends up lower. So, make sure you're actually doing your own math. Don't just sit there and go, well, I don't know. He said I'm going to save this, and so it doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't cost me anything. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Amen. Ask the right questions.
Right.
Well, and the reason why I asked you about if you knew, Kyle, obviously, in the infinite banking concept is because one of the biggest challenges for people that are interested in pursuing that is, again, going back to the whole liquidity cash flows, situation is how do I, when I look at my current standard of living, and this is what my current cash flows are, I make this much, I spend this much, I don't have that extra income to capitalize a policy in order to use for access to capital on an as needed basis. And so question becomes, well, how do I do this? And that's where it becomes interesting when you start really thinking outside of the box and you realize when you understand the system you live in and you go, okay, just because they're saying that we should get this 30-year mortgage, we should lock up all of this equity in this house, it becomes an illiquid cash position, and it doesn't do us, it doesn't serve us today. We can carry it forward as part of that three-sided balance sheet that Karen's talking about, but the question becomes, how do you free that equity up and deploy it into a position of really actually being able to be utilized now, and that's
make you wealthier.
And make I mean, it can accomplish all kinds of things. It can really boost, or it can become sort of that small unit, big impact type decision that can make all the difference in the world for the right person, right. And that's key, right? Like, all of this that we're talking about goes back to you have to be the right person in order for the strategy or these tools to work. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's why, like a Devil's Brigade has such high standards, because you're not going to just take any Tom, Dick, or Harry on your brigade or as part of your brigade. It better be the right person, because if it's not the right person, they're going to cost you dearly.
It's always, it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
That's what special operations,
right,
lives and breathes. And that's 100%. I would rather have two guys who are just awesome and I could trust versus 50 guys, who are just lazy or whatever. But it's all about, the quality.
And that's the thing we've talked about. Who wants to join our wagon train? Because it's not going to be everybody. Like, people are going to be like, "Wait, you want me to actually take responsibility?" No, I'm not coming on your wagon train.
Well, and part of what I promised is that a couple things here. So, pork is a lot of times that I have to talk Karen off the ledge because she'll have to address a situation where she just can't feel comfortable with what is happening conversationally with certain people because they get tempted and very easily, and then they lose sight of the big picture, the long-term thinking, their
I've come to the conclusion, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him think.
Yeah.
You can lead a human to knowledge, or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can lead a human to knowledge, but you cannot make him think.
Yeah.
Like, it does not matter how much you lay it out.
So I was saying to her, honey, like, the way I try to placate her and make her feel better is, okay, stop and think about it. Like, is that somebody that you would really want to invite along
on your wagon train?
as part of your wagon train? Like,
let him go.
Be selective.
Right. Be selective. Have the high standard. And but this kind of tying this all back into that opening claim. Freedom has never belonged to the majority. Small disciplined operators outperform large systems. That's why I started the show that way, because it all kind of ties together and becomes sort of a common denominator.